Professional football in America is a special game, a unique game. Played nowhere else on earth, it is a rare game. The men who play it make it so.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Coming now, buddy. We on our horse all day long. Let's just kick that butt all day long. Pick it up. Don't stop. Pick it up. Let's go.
Get after the ball. Tattoo somebody.
Welcome to week 3 of This Week in Fantasy Football. I'm Mike Cardano. This is Scott Engel, the King Scott Engel. How are you this week, Scott?
I'm feeling very royal, Michael Cardano.
Very royal, very
Yes.
royal. All right, let's get right to it. This morning, Ron Jaworski came out and said that Colin Kaepernick could be one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. He said that, I love his skill set. He throws with accuracy, and he's got mobility.
Well,
So, what do you think? One of the greatest quarterbacks ever. He's got to be one of the greatest fantasy quarterbacks ever, if that's the case, no?
well, you're talking about NFL versus fantasy. First off, anytime George says something, you listen because he really breaks down the game, really breaks down quarterbacks. But, Kaepernick still has to prove it from a fantasy perspective. Let's see what he can do without Michael Crabtree, his main weapon. It's a big downgrade to what he has now to Anquan Bolden and, just a bunch of jambalaya there at the receiving core. I like Kaepernick. He's got tremendous athletic talent, rifle arm. He can run, but does he have the weaponry? For fantasy, he's not a top 5 quarterback yet. I think he's definitely top 8. I have him 8th overall in my ranks on rotoexperts.com in our exclusive Edge package.
You like him not as much as Cam Newton, same skill sets?
We're talking about, NFL scouting versus fantasy. Cam Newton, we've seen him be, or he's more proven as a fantasy player. And Cam Newton, that's obvious. He's more proven. He's played more games. We've seen what Cam Newton can do. We haven't seen like a full season wire to wire of Colin Kaepernick. Cam Newton, we know, is very strong at the goal line. He's probably the strongest physically of all the hybrid quarterbacks.
Okay. Let's move on to Pittsburgh. Talk about a guy we spoke about a little bit last week, Le'Veon Bell. We got some bad news this week. So he's out with his Liz Frank injury, and we've got Isaac Redmond, Jonathan Dwyer, Larod Stevens-Howling.
The hyphen.
And I guess it's Isaac Redmond who's listed on the depth chart. So who's going to be the guy there, or is it going to be nobody, just a little taste of each?
Well, if I had to pick one guy, it'd probably be Jonathan Dwyer. He's probably the most respectable of the three. Came to camp, said he dropped 25 to 30 pounds. He's got a little shake and bake to him. He looks he's like a very poor man's Jerome Bettis. Isaac Redmond, you're probably faster than Isaac Redmond. I really don't like him. Larod Stevens-Howling, shorter than Tony Sincata of rotoexperts.com, and there's not too many people like that. Guy's 5'7". He had a 100-yard game, I believe, last year.
He's hard to find behind the line.
But he gets gassed. He can't hit. He's too small. He's not built enough to handle that heavy workload. I think if it's anything, he's a complimentary back. I think if it's anything, it's Jonathan Dwyer. But Willis McGahee is still out there as a free agent.
He's old. He's old.
Yeah, but he's probably more effective than Jonathan Dwyer or Isaac Redmond.
Well, all right. Arian Foster. You loved him last week when you thought he was going to be healthy. Then he had the back problems with the shots. But he's now come off the PUP list, and they're saying he's going to be ready for week 1. So I know you dropped him in your rankings. How far did you drop him in your rankings?
He's number 10 overall. Of all the top running backs, like the elite running backs, he drops to the bottom because even though he's off the PUP list and he might return, that kind of injury kind of scares me. The pain was creeping into his legs, and he needed an injection. Plus, he's got the calf. He's getting banged up a lot. I disagree with a lot of experts coming into the season and saying that he had too much tread on the tires, because I didn't think 3 seasons was a great sample size to say that. But everybody's body is different, and he might be starting to break down a little bit earlier than maybe some other guys.
It's a violent game.
Yes.
Now that Michael Vick has been named the starting quarterback, did he zoom up in your rankings? Or,
he's still outside the top 12. He's not a fantasy starter. He has a lot to prove. And the one thing with Michael Vick, everybody remember 2 years, I believe it was 3 years ago, when he had that huge run of like this, just like a sample size of games where he was huge. But we've never seen Michael Vick throughout his entire career, consistently have a good fantasy season, wire to wire, because of A, inconsistency, and B, lack of durability.
Well,
so
he's small, and when he's outside the pocket running around like that, he's not like a Kaepernick, who's a huge man, or a Newton. They're both huge men.
He gets hurt a lot.
Well, yeah.
But also, he's a very inconsistent passer. He'll look great one week, and he'll look erratic the next.
Right.
So he's number 13. He's got the upside, but he's like the top of my fantasy backups.
Okay, what about Victor Cruz? Has he moved much with his heel problems in your rankings?
Well, supposedly he's going to be ready for week 1, but he's on crutches. So
that might be a ruse.
But he's still top 15 to me. For all reports, Victor Cruz should be okay for the regular season open. Slight bump down in my rankings, about 3 spots, but nothing major.
What about Jordy Nelson? He had that arthroscopic procedure 2 weeks ago.
He's not sure if he's going to be ready for week 1. I think the Packers want to be careful with him. They have some depth at wide receiver there. I think Jordy Nelson, if somebody can get a little later, and if he's in the lineup by like week 4 or 5 and producing for you, you'll be very happy. You can't really overreact in a major way to these injuries in the short term. If I knew Jordy was healthy, he would definitely be a top 15 wide receiver, but right now he's not even in the top 25.
Right. Now, this whole Danny Amendola thing is blowing my mind. He's got this undisclosed minor injury, but he can't get on the practice field. And, if Bill Belichick joined our fantasy league and he had the information that he puts out, see how easy it would be for him to play. I mean, at some point, this gets to be disingenuous. He's got people walking around in casts, and he won't admit that they have broken bones.
It's not about keeping fantasy players in the dark. It's about keeping the opposition in the dark as much as he possibly can.
What does he have, hemorrhoids? What is he trying to hide?
He's trying to hide the injuries because he feels that it gives him an advantage over the opposition.
Well, I'll say this. Anytime Amendola's on the injury list, you got to be concerned. Even if he's wearing a Band-Aid.
Look, Amendola's going to be on the injury list. But when he's in there, he's going to be a spectacular fantasy player this year because he's not only going to play the Wes Welker role, but he's bigger and stronger than Welker, which means more touchdowns for him than a guy like Welker in that role.
All right. What about Brandon Weeden? Were you thoroughly excited when you found out that he was going to be the starting quarterback? Cleveland.
Maybe excites me about Jordan Cameron. I think Jordan Cameron's for real. He's my number 6 ranked tight end in our exclusive edge package. You'll see the tiers and everything. He's right outside that second tier. I think Jordan Cameron's for real, and Brandon Weeden's going to use him a lot as a safety valve.
Yep. All right, and lastly, what are you hearing about Marques Colston? Is he going to be able to be ready for week 1? He's got these lingering foot issues.
You know what,
12 practices now.
He played through foot issues last year and had a really, really good season. You know what you get with Marques Colston. When he's in there, he's going to be good.
Well, is he going to be in there?
But throughout his career, he has always been an injury risk, and that's what keeps him from being a top 10 fantasy wide receiver.
That's probably why they killed the Hofstra.
I believe the last 6 seasons, he has finished in the top 20 of all wide receivers. And, he would be even higher if he didn't get hurt.
Well, do you have an opinion on Nick Toon, who would be his replacement?
I like Nick Toon as a sleeper. This guy basically redshirted in the NFL last year. I like Nick Toon a lot.
If he's anything like his dad, he'll be a hell of a receiver.
That guy is a deep, deep sleeper. And fortunately for him, unlike his dad, he plays on a potent team. So somebody definitely
his dad was first team All-Pro.
Yeah, but he was on the Jets, though.
Still first team All-Pro. And how hard is that to do?
Now's the time to work and strain at a sport that tests the spirit and challenges the brain.
Come on, let's go. Yeah, I'd like to have 75 degrees and sunny all the time too, but that's not football.
Do you fear the force of the wind, the slash of the rain?
We're gonna play us through light and rain.
Go face them and fight them. Be savage again.